All right, tips for your very first princess party ever. This one may seem obvious, but please make sure you are doing all the research you possibly can on the character you're going to be playing. If you're playing a character like Ariel, make sure you watch all 3 of her movies, take a peek at her TV show, and maybe even watch her appearance in Sophia the First. Like, do that much research. Because kids will find and reference the most obscure, random things you would ever think of. My second tip is to give yourself plenty of time to get ready, probably more than you think you need, because in the end, if you mess up your eyelashes or maybe have trouble putting on your wig, it's much better to have too much time than too little time. My final tip, your company probably already does this, or if you're starting your own company, you may want to do this. You will want to have a set schedule of everything that's going to happen pretty much minute by minute at your party so you know where you're supposed to be at what time. At my company, usually we would start with the greeting, then do a story time, then take pictures, then move on to 1 or 2 activities, then sing happy birthday, cut the cake, and the princess would leave. Oh, and if they get to ask you a question you don't know how to answer with your own question. So Snow White is my favorite princess to dress up and perform as, but surprisingly enough, it wasn't always that way. I actually used to hate her. So the first time I ever played Snow White, it was for an event that's a whole nother story time, but I didn't like playing her, especially because the wig made me look like a dang poodle. And I'm not about that poodle life. But the second time I ever played her was for a parade, and I didn't want to play her, but my boss was like, she's the only one left, and I was like, fine. But as I was getting ready, one of her poodle curls was coming undone, and I was like, uh-oh. And I didn't have time or the skills to fix it, so I just pinned it up, and changing the wig the way I did made the whole look completely different, and I felt my hand just spring right into a little princess pose. And oh my goodness, was I feeling myself for that parade. But no, in all seriousness, I felt super cute, and I had a lot of fun because during the parade, I was one of the only princesses that was kind of going ham, and I would specifically target the older generation when I would blow kisses, and it was so cute to see them just light up because I was their princess, and it was so cool. Okay, so I have a friend on here who's going to love this story because he loves to point out the fact that I have Chick-fil-A energy, that I had that my pleasure energy, and I worked at Chick-fil-A for a semester on my college campus, so like, I get it. Like, he's not wrong. And the first time I ever dressed up as Snow White was for a Chick-fil-A father and daughter special event along with Cinderella, and it was a cute event apart from my costume. 2 words, poodle wig. And not only were the wig and costume pretty ugh, but speaking like Snow White for a 2-hour event when you haven't had much practice speaking like her before was, difficult. I can speak like Snow White now with no problem, and I could do it for quite a while because I've had so much practice, because she's one of my favorite princesses to dress up as now. But back then, before I had a lot of practice, it was not easy, especially on my poor voice. Cough, hack, wheeze. So yes, after that event, I never thought I would dress up as Snow White ever again, and as we know, that's no longer the case. And even though the event wasn't my favorite, we got to sit in this carriage and do a photo shoot, which was pretty magical. Well, every workplace has its own drama, and princess party companies are no exception. I wouldn't say that at events, girls would try to out-princess other girls. It was more like girls would try to out-princess each other when playing the same princess, if that makes sense. So just about every girl at the company had princesses who were their favorite and who they were most known for. Mine was Snow White, other girls was Elsa, other girl was Anna, another girl was Rapunzel, things like that. And we would get kind of possessive over our characters. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was very possessive over Snow White, and especially because she rarely got a party. If there was a chance to be Snow White for a party, I wanted it to be me. But what would happen is maybe there'd be like drama between 2 girls, and then the other girls would probably be on different sides of that drama. And then if they both played the same princess at different points, there'd be a lot of judging who was better at that character. I never had beef with anyone at the party company, but other girls did, and let me tell you, So this question is in reference to the story about the Anna who ate Publix chicken at my party and said, oh, I love Publix chicken, and almost ruined the party because all the kids started thinking she was a bit sus. So the Anna did not get fired from that party. But she was eventually fired, and the reason is because she was an hour late to a party. Yep, an hour. And not only was she an hour late to a party, but when she turned up at the venue, everyone was gone. There was no party anymore. The party had concluded, the people had left, and they left quite a few messages for my boss saying, hi, yeah, we hired one of your girls, and she never showed. Which quite obviously is not a good look for a party company. So yeah, she was let go. So as some of you may know, sometimes when I was a party princess, I got a little sassy. I was a party princess from 2014, 2016, and I primarily played Elsa because we're at the height of Frozen fever and that's all people wanted. And I very rarely found myself only interacting with adults, but when I did, I character, but I would drop the, you know, I'd be a little bit more chill, pardon the pun. And there was one time where I got to a party and I was a bit early, so the parents came out and they hung out with me outside, and there was this dad who was already acting a little bit like, ugh, and he kept addressing me as Princess Elsa. And the thing is, that always bothered me because it was before Frozen 2. She was a queen. And this one dad kept calling me Princess Elsa, and I looked at him and I was like, sir, what happens in the first 20 minutes of my movie? I'm sure you've seen it 100 times by now. What happens?
I don't know.
I become a queen, so I'd appreciate it if you'd address me as such. Thank you! I have another princess story time for you guys, and I completely forgotten about this one until my bonus mom reminded me of it. So one year, my company participated in the St. Patrick's Day parade, and I was once again Snow White because she was mine. And my dad and my bonus mom and I had agreed that after the parade, I would meet them downtown at their favorite pub. And after the parade, I go over to the pub, and I'm walking in, and I kind of forget for a minute what I look like. I'm getting looks of people like, what? And one guy looks at me, he's like, Snow White, is there something we could help you find in the pub? And without missing a beat, I say, oh, yes, well, I'm looking for my stepmother. And of course, they were all going, ha ha ha, sure, Snow White, yeah, we see what you did there. And I was like, no, I really need to find my bonus mom. But I go inside and I find my parents, we get something to eat, and then we get to leave, and as we're exiting the door, someone's passing by on the sidewalk, and they give me a double take, and they go, I did not expect to see Snow White leaving a pub today. St. Patrick's Day is wild. So working as a princess for a party company would sometimes put you in some interesting situations. And there was one time I got to go to the dentist with a full face of makeup and my eyebrows red. So the reason that happened was that one day I was doing a photo shoot for my company as a bunch of different princesses, and I very carefully had saved Ariel for last because I knew that when I did Ariel, I would have to make my eyebrows red to match her wig. And as I'm finishing up that shoot, I get a call from my dentist asking if I could come to my appointment early, basically as soon as possible. And I said, I can be there right away, but just know I'm gonna look interesting. And I don't know what my dentist expected to see when I came in, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't wig cap messy hair, glitter covering half my face, and red eyebrows. The whole office just kind of stared at me until I explained that I was a party princess, and then they were just kind of like, okay. Hi, I'm Jessica, and I used to be a party princess for kids' parties, and I've recently stumbled across the diary that I kept when I did these parties and found a fantastic story. So I'm playing Elsa for this party, and I'm walking around the room as the kids are being served their snacks, and I look over at the dessert table, and they have this huge, elaborate frozen cake. Actually looks really similar to this cake, except for the fact that the Hans figure is at the base. And this is important. So I stop walking and I notice the figurine, and I look up at the crowd and all the kids are distracted because it's snack time. I look back down and I reach out and I flick the Hans figure so it falls over. And then I look over and the birthday girl's mom is watching me, and she just goes, and I look at her and I have to kind of hold back a little of my own, and I give a little shrug, and then I walk on my way. And honestly, this felt very in character. Oh yes, whatever did happen to Miss I Love Publix Chicken Anna, how was her career at the party company? Short-lived. She was indeed fired from the party company, though surprisingly not because of the Publix chicken incident, but because she was an hour late to a kid's party. And maybe if the party had been hosted at someone's house, it wouldn't have been as big of a problem as it was, but unfortunately for everyone involved, this party was being hosted at a venue. Now, if I remember correctly, the parents had rented out an ice skating rink, so what they had planned was for the kids to go ice skating, princess shows up, they have an hour with the princess, and then for the last 15-30 minutes, they pack up and leave, right? All very nicely scheduled. Well, when the princess shows up an hour late, they're gone. And you can bet that both the parents and my boss were pretty ticked off about that, so, yeah, no more parties for that girl. I think another nail in the coffin, too, was the fact that they couldn't even get a hold of her to be like, where are you? So if you're not reliable, you can't do parties.